Inside the Emerging World of Anesthesia Dream Therapy. Okay. And I saw that, and this is from just last week or a couple weeks back, January 21st. And I grabbed these articles, I tuck them away, and I'm like, okay, I'll get to that later. That sounds super interesting. And I started reading a little bit on this, kind of going through my notes and things I had. And I was like, wait a minute now. Isn't there something to this that's a little deeper? It kind of dawned on me that we've maybe touched on the idea in the past, but never really talked about it directly. Now, we'll get to that in a moment, what the actual idea is, but let me read you just a little bit of this from Big Think. All these links will be in the description down below. So if you want to read ahead of me or kind of catch up on this information or whatever, it's all there just for, not just for the inspiration and for the fine people who are doing fine work out there, but so you guys can kind of track back my thought process and, even fact check me or whatever. Go read this stuff and see if I'm pulling your leg. Okay. Which of course I've been accused of many things recently, even of being, I don't know, all manner of things, inaccurate, dishonest, whatever. So it's all there. I've always done this. I've always had the links down below so you guys could go check this stuff out. So please go do that. But here we go. Check this out. So inside the emerging world of anesthesia dream therapy, the amount of interest is enormous, says anesthesiologist Boris Hefitz. People are dropping in and coming out of the woodwork trying to understand how to do this. How to do what? Like what? Like, what are you talking about? What is, okay. So anesthesia-induced dreams, once considered random side effects, are being studied for their therapeutic potential. Stanford researchers Harrison Chow and Boris Hefitz are exploring how these dreams, which are often hyper-vivid and structured narratives uncharacteristic of normal dreaming, may help ease anxiety and trauma. A Big Think contributor Sarah Briggs recently visited the Stanford team to explore the origins and future of this emerging field and the curious parallels between anesthesia, dreams, and psychedelic experiences. There, somebody said it. It had to be said, right? Okay. Now, the wild part about this, we've talked about this in the past, sort of that when they put you under with anesthesia, where do you go? You're, snap your fingers and everything's black, gone, devoid of consciousness entirely. And then when you wake back up, then you are, it's almost as if you've time traveled, but almost as if what happened when you were under didn't happen at all. You just snap your fingers once, snap your fingers twice, and you are awake again with no memory, no recollection of what actually happened as part of this, part of whatever the procedure was, whatever the process was, which is, again, incredibly odd to me because not only is it, again, the light switch of consciousness, being able to just kind of snap it off and be like, and then we'll, cut you up and stuff and make you better and stitch you back up and you'll wake up and not know a damn thing happened until you're sore, of course, and try and move around. But you get the idea, turning off consciousness simply like that, and then turning it back on with sort of a lost time, I guess how you would describe that, sort of a lost time effect, right? But the bizarre part about this article is they're talking about this as these dreams, these actual anesthesia-induced dreams are not like normal dreams at all. They are different, a different class of dreaming that might be used for many great different ways, in many great different ways. So anyway, this is long and I'm not going to read the entire thing, of course, but let's see. So these weren't just any dreams. This is straight from the article. They were hyper-vivid, anesthesia-induced dreams that Chow's surgical patients had been reporting to him over the past decade. So it's not a small sample size or anecdotal. It seems to be things that keep happening time and again. And these actual hyper-vivid dreams seem to be helping people heal past traumas, things like this, right? And so that in and of itself is fantastic just to start because this is needed. We need this. PTSD, shout out our veterans out there that are struggling with a lot of things, especially that paradigm of breaking your mind, your body, and your soul, as I always say, and then sending you back to the United States and saying, if you served overseas, go get them now. Go get a job. Thanks for your service, Tiger. Smacking you on the ass proverbially, and then, giving you crappy benefits as a result. Shout out to the VA out there that does terrible work. But, of course, government efficiency, right? But I digress. But the part here that made me wonder about this when I started reading this article, like I said, it is very long. Big Think does very nice work, in my opinion, and it is also very long, sort of narrative based and kind of the story and all the rest. So I'm not going to get into the details of this article. You can if you'd like. But the thing that dawned on me when I was thinking about this regarding the anesthesia-induced dreaming or this dream therapy is that the different dreams, how they manifest. And again, why are they different? Why is it different when you snap your fingers and you're out? Again, put under entirely for some surgical operation or whatever, surgical procedure. And instead you have that time dilation effect, but then have a dream, right? And has anybody ever had this, by the way? Anybody been put under for whatever, going to the dentist or something? And that's the only time, I've said this before on the show, that the only time I've ever had it in my life that I recall, that I remember, I may have been little. I mean, I don't think so, because I've never had any major surgeries, knock on wood, thank goodness for all that. But they knocked me out when I was very young I was like 10 or 12 or something. Had crooked teeth, as you can see, still have a little bit of crooked teeth, but they were heavily impacted in the back, and they had to remove my wisdom teeth before they came in, because it was going to cause massive problems. So they knocked me out, like literally gave me the stuff, and I was there, and it was like, count to 5 or whatever, and you're like, boom, and you're gone. Next thing I know, I wake up and I'm headed home, and I got an ice pack on my face, and that was not a fun week. But anyway, that's the only time it's ever happened to me, and there was no dreaming effect that I had experienced. It was literally the time basis of lost time. And that was it. I had no idea what the hell had happened. And so has any of you out there been involved in something like this, where you do remember the dream when you're put under anesthesia? Okay. And that's where we start. That's the first question tonight. And this gets even more strange, because when you start to think about classes of dreams and how one might be different than another, why is that? And that's another question. And of course, what about this anesthesia-induced dreaming as part of it? Is there a way? Well, we'll get weird, as you know, but keep that in the back of your mind. Put a pin in that. We'll get back to that in just a second here. But I am calling this tonight, yes, you guessed it, Oneiric Archaeology. Exploring the super dream. We'll talk about the super dream when we come back after a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that is Human Inspiration. The differences between dreams is where we left off, all right? So if you have a normal dream just means you go to sleep normally without any type of chemicals involved. You just go to sleep, all right? It's just as simple as that. You go to sleep. You have a dream. You remember it or you don't. Sometimes they're weird. Sometimes they're not. Whatever, right? On and on. Everybody knows what a normal dream is. But in this case, when you're talking about sort of anesthesia-induced and that effect of switching off consciousness itself, it is a different class of dream. And in this case, I'm calling it the super dream because, oddly enough, I was digging a little deeper into the effect of this. And that's what somebody called it this is another Big Think article, and this is back from July of 2024. But they called it the anesthesia super dream technique seems to soothe PTSD. It's an article on, the very same thing. And I was like, wow, well, there's the term right there. This is an actual super dream. And so the top part of this, actually, just let me read you the subheadline here. Upon emergence, these patients are sincerely unsure what was reality and what was a dream. So it's almost super lucid or super reality bending, melding. I don't know. But anyway, so straight from here, key takeaways. A team of researchers recently described how 2 people with post-traumatic stress disorder experienced a significant reduction in symptoms following anesthesia-induced dreams. After receiving a strategically measured dose of anesthesia for surgeries, the patients reported dreams that were very positive and euphoric. Those are nice terms. 1 month later, they did not meet the criteria for PTSD and reported drops in depression and anxiety. It's not clear whether the anesthesia-induced dreams eased trauma-related symptoms, but the researchers argued that the reports justify further research into the novel method. And this was, again, July of last year, 2024. Fast forward to January of 2025, and suddenly this is emerging and people want to know all about it. Once again, the amount of interest is enormous, says anesthesiologist Boris Hefetz. People are dropping in and coming out of the woodwork trying to understand how to do this. Because again, think about curing something like traumatic situations, the latent memories, all the bad stuff, being able to kind of shake it out with some sort of, super dream, I guess, for lack of a better term here. And so it got me thinking, of course, in a lot of different ways, because when you're talking about the classes of dreams and the way these ideas kind of come together, we're dealing with 2. The regular one, and then this anesthesia-induced dream. Not even talking about anything else. Not talking about the shamanic journey or any of that stuff just yet. I think you might be able to sort of loop those ideas into this maybe eventually, but that's not where I headed. That's not what I was thinking about when I was putting this together. It was just, okay, so classes of dreams, and why are they different? And in this particular case, how come this dream itself could be healing in some capacity, right? Seems very woo-woo. Seems very out there. Seems very magical in some capacity, right? Okay, so then I was digging a little bit deeper, and I'm like, okay, so if this is the case, then there are different classes of dreams, sort of dreams within ourselves, how we perceive the missing time, all the rest of this stuff. I was thinking too, so not just personally, what if there's a larger, in the larger context of dreaming, that not just tandem dreaming, but shared dreaming. Shout out, James. We were talking about that at the end of a show last week. But shared dreaming in the same capacity of a super dream. Okay, now keep in mind 2 classes of dreams, maybe a third or a fourth or a fifth that we haven't discovered as of yet. But I was thinking this, right? And I came across this wild tale, these old tales that I'm not sure if they're true or not. I didn't do any fact checking, so you know me. I'm not trying to sell you a bill of goods and make you believe anything that's not real here. I'm sourcing all the stuff and talking about this conceptually, okay, in a framework of a conversation. So it's a good time to drop all the disclaimers. There is no truth to be found here whatsoever. This is just again, loose association, a framework of ideas for a philosophical conversation. So if you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. That's not my game. I've never done that. I just talk possibilities, okay? And speaking of that, now let's get to the weird. Do you want to get weird with this? And how bizarre does it get? What is Oneiric archaeology, Mike? What the hell are you talking about? Well, if you remember, Oneiros was, in Greek mythology, the personification of dreams themselves, okay? A link is in the description. They called them Oneiros or Oneiroi, dreams plural. In the Iliad of Homer, Zeus sends an Oneiros to appear to Agamemnon in a dream, while in Hesiod's Theogony, the Oneiroi are the sons of Nyx, night, and the brothers of Hypnos, sleep. Okay, yeah, so there we go. So that's what this is. That's the Greek god of dreaming. Oneiric, Oneiros, right, okay. And so listen to this. This is incredible. I found this one and was like, damn, Mike, where did this come from? But anyway, this is on scribd.com. Links in the description down below. I'm going to read this to you in full. It's very short. Dream archaeology, the controversial field of Oneiric excavations. Okay? All right. So check this out. In the late 1960s, a maverick group of archaeologists led by Dr. Maria Sanchez Rivera developed an unusual methodology they termed Oneiric archaeology. The technique involved analyzing the dreams of local inhabitants near archaeological sites, believing that collective unconscious memories could reveal the location of buried artifacts. Okay, hear that? Let me read that again. This is the most important part, the most important sentence of tonight. The technique of this Oneiric archaeology, dream archaeology, the technique involved analyzing the dreams of local inhabitants near archaeological sites, believing that collective unconscious memories could reveal the location of buried artifacts. Okay, now check this out. The team's most notable success occurred in 1971 near Mérida, Mexico, where they discovered previously unknown Maya burial chamber after mapping recurring elements in the dreams of 23 local residents. Hear that? Mapping the dreams of local residents. The location matched precisely with the geometric center of overlapping dream-reported landmarks. What? Their methodology included elaborate dream documentation protocols, statistical analysis of symbolic patterns, and correlation with geological surveys. While mainstream archaeology rejected their approach, they accumulated a surprising success rate in predicting the location of buried structures. The practice was largely abandoned after Sanchez Rivera's retirement in 1982, though some anthropologists continue to study the relationship between local folklore, dreams, and archaeological sites. The original dream maps and documentation are preserved in the University of Mexico's special collections. Okay, so this is real. Anybody live out there in University of Mexico? Yeah, that I didn't say New Mexico, Mexico. University of Mexico special collections. I'd love to be able to kind of get in there and take a look at this stuff. But think about that. Think about that idea, right? That you have a group of people sort of immersed in the folklore of the area and the traditions of the area and all the stuff we're always talking about on Troubled Minds, right? But then for some reason, their dreams are a resonant historical artifact of the things that have been there, of the actual historical artifacts that are there in their local community, which is nuts, right? That's absolutely nuts. And so now go back to where we started with this weird anesthesia-induced dream, this super dream. Now, so that's another class of dreams, right? So now in this case, we're talking about sort of a temporal dreaming aspect where we take in some sort of residual energy that's been in the area for a long time. Again, back to the Maya excavations here, and people have these dreams about these places, and they're able to actually find this stuff. I mean, I would love to see the actual documents on this. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't have time to do any digging. You know me, I wish I could do this full time, and this is the type of stuff that I would actually. So, anyway, so, okay. Okay. I see in the chat. Hey, everybody chill out. Okay, so that's the deal, right? This is where this starts. And so not just the classes of dreams, and what about this archaeology, this Oneiric archaeology? It's strange, right? To consider that this might work. And if it does, what else are we missing as part of it? Not just like archaeological excavation type stuff, but I mean, you could talk about this in terms of anthropology and all manner of weird things, right? But this, like I said, and remember, whether true or not, I didn't fact check it. So again, take it with a grain of salt, this idea here. And it is just from a scripted document, links in the description. So again, real or not, it doesn't matter to me, because the more fascinating is the idea of the possibility of this being a true thing. So that's it. And as usual, this type of thing, of course, opens up into a ton of different areas, a ton of different ideas. Because when we're talking about classes of dreams, the regular dream, the super dream, now this weird archaeological, folklore-esque resonant energy that manifests in dreams, and you can actually take notes of locals and maybe find things that are there, maybe screaming to be found, maybe sending out some sort of resonant energy to be found themselves. I don't know. It's a very, very, very weird thing. So the other thing I came across as part of this, again, absolutely no fact checking here. I didn't do any of that. So take all this with a grain of salt. I don't know if these sources are reputable or not, but the idea seems to be resonant in some different ways, because this isn't the only time this story's been told. So that's not the one. Wait, is that the one? Yeah, that's the one. Okay. So in 1883, Assyriologist Hermann Hilprecht was writing a report on findings from the Temple of Bel at Nippur, Nippur, working from sketches made by members of the University of Pennsylvania's excavation crew. 2 fragments of agate dug up from the temple ruins had eluded exact identification. The best guess of the archaeologist who had found them was that they were from ancient rings. You know, rings you put on your finger or whatever, right? Hilprecht was not satisfied with this theory. After poring over the page proofs of his report, he went to bed and dreamed the following remarkable dream. I think there's enough time to read this whole thing. So this is the dream. A tall, thin priest of the old pre-Christian Nippur, Nippur, after about 40 years of age and clad in a simple abba, led me to the treasure chamber of the temple on its southeast side. He went with me into a small, low-ceilinged room without windows, in which there was a large wooden chest, while scraps of agate and lapis lazuli lay scattered on the floor. He then addressed me as follows, quote, and this is in the dream. This thin priest came to him in his dream, and he said this: King Karagalzu once sent to the temple of Bel, B-E-L, among other articles of agate and lapis lazuli, an inscribed votive cylinder of agate. Then we priests suddenly received the command to make for the statue of the god Ninib, N-I-N-I-B, a pair of earrings of agate. We were in great dismay, since there was no agate as raw material at hand. In order to execute the command, there was nothing for us to do but cut the votive cylinder into 3 parts, thus making 3 rings, each of which contained a portion of the original inscription. The first 2 rings served as earrings for the statue of the god. The 2 fragments which have given you so much trouble are portions of them. If you will put the 2 together, you will have the confirmation of my words. But the 3rd ring you have not found in the course of your excavations, and you will never find it. With these words, he vanished in the dream. It turns out, so when he woke from the dream, this Hilprecht fellow, back in, what was the year? 1883, he pulled out his sketches again with this dream fresh in mind, and now saw that the fragments could possibly be fitted together to make a section of a votive cylinder, whose inscription he rendered in English as follows: To the god Ninib, son of Bel, B-E-L, his lord Kurigalzu, Pontifex of Bel, presented this. And that was the inscription. And they were indeed missing a 3rd piece. Anyway, so this goes on to kind of talk about that exact thing here. And Again, I tried to fact check this a little bit. I spent a little bit of time digging for a corroborating account. I couldn't find it. So this may be just scary stories to tell in the dark type stuff. But again, it doesn't matter for the framework of the conversation, because is this stuff possible? Is it possible that you can find in your dreams this Oneiric archaeology? And what about these different classes of dreams? The regular dream, this super dream, this anesthesia-induced dream, this collective sort of unconscious dreaming of finding ancient artifacts. Weird, right? Anyway, that's what's on my mind tonight. I hope everybody is doing well. Tonight we're talking about this. Could anesthesia truly unlock doors to our collective past, predict our future, or even let us wander through quantum realities within our dreams? The possibility seems as vast as they are mysterious, of course, beckoning us to a potential where medicine meets the metaphysical. And is this where we're headed? As usual, right? When you start to look at this stuff, a lot of the old ways seem to resurface in medicine and technology and all the rest of this stuff. And that's why we do talk about this in the way we do, because let's not forget the past. I think it's an important aspect to this. And I'm recognizing it more and more as I sort of make these, again, loose connections here. But how strange does it get? What about these different classes of dreams? And what about this weird Oneiric archaeology and the super dream? What the hell is this? Do you think that's possible? And if so, what sort of mechanism lies behind it?